Hey there, this is a little bit of a departure from my normal aircraft videos. I'm replacing an upstream sensor on my 6.7 Cummins in my 2014 Ram 2500 Tradesman. And there's the victim out there. I keep on getting an error code of P2201 and I cleared it, and then this time I got an error code saying the upstream sensor was out of tolerance. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and replace it, because that's one of those things that if it fails, it goes into limp mode and you're stuck. Better do it now than on the road somewhere. So what I did was I figured out what I needed to buy for a sensor, and that was actually very confusing. There's a number of part numbers out there for this upstream sensor. The main thing to do if you want to really be sure about whether the sensor fits your vehicle is run the VIN number with the parts department, and they can tell you what fits. Okay, so now about the sensor. That was another interesting, I guess, discovery. There's a ton of sensors out there for around $150 to $200, and they're all made in China, every single one of them. And reading on the old interwebs, I saw that the reliability of these sensors, just in general, from shops that replace them regularly, not a guy like me who replaces it once or twice, the failure rate is around 40 to 50%, and that's a little bit much for me. Besides, I like OEM parts, and so that's what I did. I bought an OEM sensor from a company, the cheapest I could find online. It's truck to trailer out of Candler, North Carolina. People were amazing. They shipped it to me right away. And this is the sensor right here. You can see that it's factory new. It is OEM. And the main thing on this one is you can see that it is made in USA. There's the part numbers. It was expensive. It was about $740 for the sensor versus $160 on Amazon. But I do not like supporting communist countries. I know, believe it or not, they did have some OEM parts that were made in PRC, which is their way of saying, okay, well, it's not really made in China, but it's made in PRC, but PRC stands for People's Republic of China. But when I called and ordered this part, I asked them to verify that it was made in the United States, and they said it was. So all set for that. I'm all for American goods and American workers. So how to replace this thing? There's nothing on YouTube land to do this, but from what I understand, what you have to do is take the front right wheel off, take out the fender well, and then that way you can access the turbo and also the sensor and how it's mounted. So let's get busy and get the truck in here and see what we can do. Okay, I've got the truck pulled in the shop. Can't pull it in any further because of the shop being full of other stuff, but it's out of the rain, so I'm pretty happy about that. Got the wheel pulled off. A little bit of an incline here, so I've got the parking brake set. I do have it on a jack stand on the main frame member, and also I got it supported here up front with the jack. I did lower the weight on, and it's all being supported with the jack stand. This is just another point just for safety. The front end of this truck is extremely heavy, and it would be a bad day if it had to come down on my body parts somewhere. So it looks like I've got to take this mud flap off. Looks like this has got one of those little pull type plastic inserts here, and the rest of them all around here, up around the whole perimeter, looks like, and one up here, are just some of those bolts with the big flat washers on them. So let's get busy and take those out. Okay, I finally figured out the secret. Those pesky little guys at Ram. It was covered in dirt, that's why I didn't see these. There's two 5/16 washer head bolts that are up on towards the inner side of the wheel well. But then on the outside, where it doesn't look like there's anything unless you can scrape all the dirt off, there's two of these things. They're super flat, and you have to pull them out. This is what happens when they're just one-way fasteners. Drives me crazy. So these are just push fasteners. You can see them here. Yep. That just hold the fender well in two places, and then now it's dropping forward, and I'll be able to get it out the rest of the way and to go ahead and get to the sensor. It's not going to cause any problems with the job later on because I can reuse one. I'll probably just get a couple others. I think I've got some from an old Ford project I've got that are real similar, just one-way push connectors, and I'll use them to fill the hole in and then continue on. Newsflash, I found one more, and I'm going to pull it out. I'll show you where it is. It's right back in here. Where is it? There it is, right there. You can see I already started pulling away from it a little bit, but you can see with dirt on it, they're impossible to see. Super flat. So I'll get that sucker out and we'll get the fender well out. Okay, that was the hard part. Here's the fender well. I got it pulled out. Interestingly enough, got really good access now to the sensor, the upstream sensor of the turbo, right here. And you can see the wiring loom goes down here, goes over there, and then you can see right below that little bellows, there's, looks like two vertically installed orange washers. That's the isolation mount for that sensor, the sensor pack, I guess. So now just reaching in there and getting all those screws out and making it happen. A couple interesting parts I found out. Once I got the fender well out and I started picking on this, I thought I'd show it to you. That's a real source of corrosion right there. It's just a bunch of mud that got packed in there and is probably staying there until the truck, I guess, rusts away in that spot. So I'm going to give that a good cleaning. And also you can see up here, there's some soundproofing. I've had this little squirrel, apparently, see him every now and again by my truck. Now I know what he's doing. He's taking my insulation out. So the squirrel's got to go. Next time I see him, he'll be joining his other friends, I guess, in squirrel heaven. We'll get the sensor out. Okay, here we are back at the sensor. One thing I found out, to access this nut that holds the sensor in place, it spins free independent of the body. It's a 7/8. There's a little bolt, two bolts that hold that heat shield on to the outlet of the turbo. Little 5/16 bolt. I found that it's a lot easier to get a wrench on that sensor if that bolt is missing. The bolt is not missing. The bolt is removed. Sorry about that. But onward and forward. Okay, the battle continues, slowly being won. I got the sensor out. You can see how dirty it is, man. Ports are all clogged up. No wonder it's throwing error codes. I mean, it's only been, what, 78,000 miles living in there. One thing that I had to do is I found out that a 22 millimeter wrench actually fit it just a tiny bit tighter than a 7/8. So that might be the proper size. To get it to move, I had to get a little persuasion on it. Don't need a bar that long, probably about half that long, but that's all I had. Fit over the end of the wrench, so when I had the open end part on the flat of the sensor, I held it in place and then slowly pulled it with this little persuader on the end of the wrench here, and then finally got it to move. Don't want to yank on it, pull on it, because, man, I tell you, if that thing broke off in the turbo, that would be a real sad day. I mean, an extremely sad day. So take your time. I did, and the sensor came out. Now time to get the module out. Okay, last little bit to the puzzle here about removing this sensor pack from the mount on the frame. There's a Canon plug, or a plug that plugs into it, of course, that sends a signal to the computer. And how do you get that thing off? Well, I figured it out. Actually, I went online and saw a picture of the actual connector, and what it is that there's a big yellow plastic piece on the side of the connector. I don't know if I can get it in here or not, so you can see it. There it is. That's actually lays flat up against that plug. What you have to do is you have to pull that out towards the wheel side to disengage it. That kind of locks it onto the sensor, and then it just pops right off. I'm going to go ahead and pop it off right now. Stick my hand in there, push down on the plug, and should pop off. Well, it did pop off once before I put it back on for the film, but anyway, you get the idea. So that's how to get that plug off of that sensor. Then there's 2 bolts, and then that's it. Let's take a look. I finally got it out. Success. Boy, I don't know what to say. This is the module here. Where it attaches onto the frame, it's an L bracket basically. It's at a 90-degree angle to the frame going from front to the back. What I found is that this sensor, the way it's bolted to the bracket, it sits like this. And you've got this top bolt with the vibration isolators, and you have this bottom bolt. This bottom bolt with these isolators was a bear, let me tell you. What I did was I took the top one out, and then I swung the sensor pack here down to where I could get at least my hands on that that nut and that bolt. Okay, so where are we now? Let me turn the music off here for a second. There we go. Yeah, if you're man, I tell you, I've got some choice words for engineers that decided to put that the way it is, because it's almost impossible. Word of advice: if you're, let me get out of here this way, get a little bit more different light. If you're not a patient person and can work in prolonged places where all you're going to get is like 1/8 of a turn, and you got to reposition every time, I wouldn't suggest you try this. It's not a difficult job in the sense of technical stuff. It's a difficult job in the sense of access. My hands aren't overly big, they're not small, they're just normal size. If you have large hands, you're going to have a problem getting in there to get to this module. And also just getting in and out of that stuff is terrible. That's all I can say. The access to this thing is terrible. I was, in a former life, I was a turbine engine mechanic on helicopters, and so I'm no stranger to having look at some things saying, how in the heck did they ever get that thing in there, and how am I going to get that thing out? This is up there in those kinds of things. So if you see a diesel mechanic that works on 6.7s, pat them on the back, buy them a beer, buy them a cup of coffee, because if they have to do this, it's quite the job. And also, if you find the engineer who figured out how to put that in there, don't buy him a beer, don't buy him a coffee, because it is really a bear. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Obviously, the installation is going to be the reverse of the disassembly. It always goes a little bit better once you got everything figured out. But like I said, this is one of those things that you can 1/8 of a turn, you're going to be in positions that, after a while your muscles just start to quiver because you're just contorted in some position. You got to just back out and take a break for a while and go back and try it again and try it again and try it again. So here it is. It's 10 after 4. I've been at it, probably about good, about 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I've got it out, so that's good. Putting it back in, probably about an hour and a half, now that I've got everything situated where it was. But anyway, if you do attempt this, good luck. And I hope this video was helpful to you. And as always, I don't make anything on these videos. I don't put ads on the videos. I don't want ads. If you see an ad on the video, it's because YouTube put it on there, not me. So adios until the next time. Good luck.